to get tested. And if you get tested and you find out that you are positive, please utilize all the tools that have been put to us by the government. They've done a great job. So please use these tools and get started on medication. And you'll find that once you're started on medication, you can live a full and meaningful and productive life. We can no longer blame anyone but ourselves at this stage. We cannot blame anybody because everything is at our disposal. So everyone should take responsibility and seek help if you need it. Because I think my father would have been alive today if he had all these interventions that are availed to us. So let us please learn from the past and gear up for a better future without HIV. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for keeping his candle burning. And thanks to all those who continue to live positively despite all the hardships that you go through. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
The crown, and I'm also a lawyer in the making. Thank you so much. I know this mask is a little bit inconveniencing, but I'm going to put it down since I'm social distancing. Hope it's okay. As a young person living with HIV and a young woman, an advocate, and a lawyer in the making, celebrating 30 years of us losing a pioneer, a grandfather of advocacy is really breathtaking. Because if it wasn't him, I would not be here. If it wasn't him coming up and living alone in that time of fear, in that time of ignorance where people didn't know about HIV, in that time of, can I say, disaster, because everyone thought that having HIV is the end of life, and everyone thought that having HIV, you are already dead, you don't have life, and someone coming up and saying that, hey, I'm having HIV. I think that was the most brave thing I've ever seen in my life. And because of that, I'm standing here today as a young person and also declaring that, hey, we are also still there and we are still in the fight, and we hope that we will make it, and we still believe that we will achieve our agenda of 2030 and ending AIDS by 2030. I've been in the struggle of advocacy in the past 4 years, and truth be told, it's not been easy. Stigma is still real. I've been a victim of stigma in very many instances. And just to share the latest one, I'm still at campus, as I said. I'm a lawyer in the making, and hopefully I'll be graduating this year. I was supposed to be graduating in July, but because of this COVID thing, I couldn't. But one day, I was at campus, and of course, I'm living a public life. I shared my status with everyone because I'm an HIV representative of young people, and also, I'm an advocate, so everyone at school knew about my status. So it happened that I had to attend a lecture, and when I went there are these girls, you know how campus girls can be sometimes. So I think they had their thing, and I didn't know. So when I was passing via them, they said, look at HIV walking. I heard them, but I think they thought that I didn't hear them. It hurt me, of course, as a person, but in my mind, I was like, in this era where people are educated, in this time where we think that, we have modernization, people still think that HIV is death. People still think that having HIV is a crime. It is such a pity that people still think that having HIV is the end of life and having HIV is a crime. And we are here today to show the world that we are people living with HIV and we have our rights and we are no different from anyone else. So let's stop the stigma. And it's our role, all of us, not only young people living with HIV, not only the as duty bearers, not only the stakeholders, but everyone has a role to play in fighting stigma and discrimination. For me, I believe that it's not the AIDS that is killing us, but it is the stigma that is killing us. And when we end this stigma, we will end AIDS. But how are we going to end stigma? This is a question that's forwarding to every one of us. I thank Tezra. She said that it's everyone's responsibility. Ending AIDS and ending stigma, it's going to start with all of us. And I already say that change starts with me. And if change starts with me, that means change should also start with you. So it's your role, who is seated there, whoever is seated there, whoever is watching us, to see that there is change, to see that we have a free stigma generation, to see that we have a generation free from HIV. It is our role. And no one is going to, we have this thing of, it's not my responsibility, it's the government's responsibility. Who is the government? You are the government. I am the government. So let's work hand in hand with the duty bearers. Let's work hand in hand with the stakeholders to see that we end AIDS. Supporting young people living with HIV. I applaud Tezra for talking about supporting us as young people. We as young people living with HIV in this era, as I have explained earlier, of still having stigma among us, we're still having a very big challenge of being supported. I personally, I won't be ashamed of saying this, I've been tried to put down very many times because of my status and because of my vulnerability as a young person. And moreover, the people that are supposed to support us are the people who see us as a threat. And on that, I would like to thank Dr. Nelson, Dr. Nelson, General Director. Thank you so much, because he's one of the people, his big title, he has a very big title in the Uganda AIDS Commission, but he's very down to earth. He loves young people. When you reach out to him, he responds as quick as possible. And thank you so much. And I wish that all people be like him. I wish all big people, when we come to your offices, don't see us as baby advocates. We know what we are talking about because we go through it and we know how it feels. We know. So please don't push us away. Support us in all ways. Support us whenever we come to you. Don't see us as threats. Don't see us as, as I say, baby advocates. You don't know anything. That's the feeling they give us, that for you, you're still young, you don't know anything. Yet we know what we are talking about. So please support us. Talking about support, there are very many challenges affecting us as young people living with HIV. And I can say some of those challenges is lack of empowerment by us. And what do I mean by saying lack of empowerment? We believe that we should have people we look up to. As I gave an example of Dr. Nelson. But there are some people who we expect empowerment, who we expect to get empowerment from, and they're not really empowering us. And by that I mean economic empowerment, emotional support, and psychosocial support. I have my own projects. I didn't talk about them earlier, and I am the founder of the Y Plus Music Band, as you see the t-shirt that I'm putting on. And basically it's a band for young people living with HIV, both affected and infected with HIV, and we use our talents. But I can say that I've reached out to very many people, and most of them will be like, oh yeah, we'll help you, blah, 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 and it just ends like that. When they've not given us a clear picture on how they're going to help us, or giving us a hand that, yeah, I'm going to push you further. And this has really affected me. And The fact that Philip Bongoley Lutaya used his talent, I believe that talent speaks. I believe that we also as young people, we have talent and we can share it with our world through advocacy, through educating people. But it's such a shame that whenever we reach out to people who we think that can embrace our ideas, the people that they're disappointing us. So my urge to everyone, please support us. Talking further about my band, we have a very vibrant team of young people in my band. And they're very, very excited to know that I'm representing them. And we really have very nice songs, advocacy songs. You can always reach out to, you can go on YouTube or our first, pages and follow us. And on top of that, I also carried some CDs for our music. And basically, I talked about support. When I reached out to people, people in big offices, and they failed to help, I was like, I can come up with something that can help in fundraising. And most of the money that we fundraise, we go and support fellow young people living with HIV in rural areas. Because I found that it's not, there are very many challenges that are affecting us as young people, and it's not all about ARVs. We are so grateful to the government that they have provided ARVs, but what is next after ARVs? We still have very many challenges that are affecting us as young people, and these challenges are limiting us to take drugs, and some of those challenges are education. I personally lost my father when I had just started campus, and losing my father meant a lot because he was the one who was giving my tuition. And it was really so hard for me at that time because I had to get a job and had to hustle as I'm in law school. It wasn't really easy for me. And I also reached out to these young people in rural areas. It was really very hard for them. Some of them lost their parents, they're not studying. And I was like, no, I can do something. I can do something to help these young people. And I went to studio, I put in my money, I recorded songs, and I'm fundraising to go and support these young people. Because I believe if we educate young people, HIV will end. Because they'll be empowered, they'll know how to prevent themselves, they'll know how to protect other people. And also, supporting young people is, as I said earlier, is not only giving us ARVs. We really need a lot of things that can help us to see that we achieve our goal of 2030, and to see that we'll be able to also be up there in the HIV response. But what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is giving us opportunities. I'm so grateful to the Uganda AIDS Commission for giving me this platform. And I'm glad that I'm here to say that we really need these platforms to share our experiences and to share our challenges. Talking about the challenges that we faced during COVID-19, I can say that I think during those days of Philip Bongoley Lutaya, by the time he disclosed, it was like COVID-19, whereby whenever people would hear about HIV, everyone would just scatter, everyone would just be very scared. And us being HIV positive, it made us more vulnerable to COVID-19. And it is such a pity that most young people lacked information about COVID-19 and how it's going to affect them as young people living with HIV. And this is a big challenge because even up to now, people are still ignorant. Young people are still ignorant. They don't know about HIV, about how their vulnerability is going to, having HIV, sorry, I beg your pardon, how HIV is going to be able to, sorry, I beg your pardon again. I was still talking about how COVID-19 affected us as young people living with HIV, and I was still addressing over the ignorance of young people about COVID-19 and how they are not aware that COVID-19 is a very dangerous disease and they should protect themselves from it. Secondly, I also want to talk about access to medical care. Young people during COVID-19 lockdown faced a lot of challenges in accessing medical care. And you find out that these young people reached out to me and were telling me, Gloria, how can we access ARVs? And it was really a big challenge because they could not go to health centers because they could not, the transport was locked. So this was a very big challenge because we could not access our medication and we could not access our ARVs. And also another challenge, we had mental health challenges as young people living with HIV during this pandemic. And this has also affected us in a way that some people, of course, when they have mental challenges, they cannot be able to take their drugs very well. And I talked about economic empowerment earlier on. Some people during lockdown, they lost their jobs. And I can say that I'm also part of it, but it was of a great advantage that after losing my job, I had to be very innovative and very creative. And I started my own initiative of the Y Plus Music Band and the Young Positives Foundation, where we help young people to get basic needs, young people in HIV to get basic needs. And also we lacked privacy. There was a lack of privacy and confidentiality during the lockdown period, whereby, of course, there were a lot of protocols of accessing ARVs, where you had to go to the different, leaders, local leaders to get ARVs. And it was really, really very hurting and very challenging. So my call to action, we are all here, as I said earlier, and it's our responsibility as young people and all duty stake bearers to see that we end AIDS by 2030. But what you should know is there is still a lot to do. Yes, we thank the government that they've done a lot, but there is still more to be done. So I call upon everyone to come up and support us, as I said earlier in the morning, and support us in everything that we do. Please support us, and it is your responsibility. I already said that HIV should end with me and ends with me. So all young people living with HIV out there, you should always be cautious. Whenever you go into this, weird acts, make it a point that HIV ends with you. Please protect yourselves and protect others. To all the young people out there living negatively with HIV, please protect yourself. Tesra talked about testing. There are very many people out there who don't know their HIV status. And I call upon everyone to know their HIV status. Please test. And when you test and you find out that you're HIV positive, please take your treatment, adhere well to your treatment. And when you adhere, make it a point to suppress, because that is our goal of viral suppression. Thank you so much. I remain Nawanyaga Gloria, and I believe that HIV does not define me, and HIV should not define anyone.